Hey guys, I wanted to make a video here to show other Shaman players how it's possible to do solo Elemental Shaman jump runs here in Dire Maul East so that miners can farm up some arcane crystals, blue sapphires, and other goodies to be able to sell them on the auction house for money. I'm personally doing this so that I can try and farm up a soul for us, and I just completed my 115th solo jump run, so I'm pretty comfortable with this, and gonna go ahead and show you guys how I get it done. So, you notice right when I ran in, I just kind of jumped down immediately so that I could get a good pace here. I may fast forward a bit through some of these segments just so I can go ahead and get back to the action, but I like to run straight through. I'm not an herbalist, so I'm not going to bother with any lashers or picking herbs, but when I get to this spot, I'm going to go ahead and drop Stone Skin and Searing Totem just so that I can prepare. There's usually a demon that'll spawn right around here, and I usually will just kind of face tank this guy, alternating between Lightning Bolt max rank with Chain Lightning and Earth Shock. You see that if I have a good lead on him, I'll typically throw in a Frost Shock just for a little bit of kiting. You can pretty much face tank that guy if you've got Dungeon Blues here, so I'll run through my gear at the end of this. There can sometimes be a demon that spawns right there. Here he is, so I'll go ahead and get full on mana. This gear that I'm running right now, I am not an Elemental Shaman as my main spec. I actually play Enhancement for raiding with a Restoration off spec. I really only respec to Elemental when I'm going to be doing a bunch of jump runs throughout the week. So this gear is pretty much all Dungeon Blues that I've just accumulated through a lot of dungeon runs over the past couple weeks with guildies and friends, helping them get geared up, and so all of this was pretty much just some extra blues that other people didn't need, so I went ahead and scooped them up. And it's not the best gear. I'm definitely not full Prebis or anything for Elemental, but it is it's not greens or anything. Like, I definitely have a full dungeon set here. So for my route here, I choose not to kill Hydra spawn. It is definitely doable as an Elemental Shaman using the standard spot right over here where you can jump back and forth. For me personally, I feel like it lengthens the run a little bit too much for my liking at the moment. Right now I'm primarily interested in arcane crystals and blue sapphires, so I don't want to slow myself down too much, but I just run straight through there and let Hydra spawn go past. There can sometimes be a demon that spawns right here, so always be careful of him. And then the last demon to worry about will spawn in this hallway, and he pads up and down. So here he is. So this guy, I'll lead him with a Frost Shock, and then since I have a nice long hallway here, I actually will kite him with Frost Shock. And if you get lucky with crits, he dies pretty quick. There's some Fell Cloth, so this is also a pretty decent way to farm up some Fell Cloth as well as Demonic Runes. So since even though I play Enhancement and Raid, mana issues still are pretty prevalent, so it is nice to be able to farm up Demonic Runes. I'm sitting on a total of 79 right now. Those are not all from my jump runs. I did farm some demons in Fellwood and Ashara, but I've gotten at least 20 of these Demonic Runes from doing my solo jump runs. So here's the first boss we gotta kill with Zevram Thornhoof, and you'll see that I've got a little weak-ar here that I made that warns me when I don't have grounding totem down when I'm targeting this boss or the final boss. I'll go ahead and link that in the description below the video. So when I'm ready to pull this guy, I'm going to make sure that I always have grounding totem down. I'll go ahead and just start with this guy. So I go into the corner, and I always lead with 3 lightning bolts. Go onto this little rock right here, and then I'm just going to go back and forth. This boss is really easy as a Shaman. It's probably the easiest class to kill him. And you'll notice that anytime he uses Sacrifice, he's always going to hit either my Grounding Totem or my Searing Totem, and I am completely safe. The only thing that'll ever hit you here is his Shadowward Pain ability, so you always just want to be careful that if that's on you, don't ever try to use your bandage or anything, because it'll interrupt you, but I can just keep going back and forth here. If I get lucky with a clear casting proc like that, sometimes I'll weave in a Flame Shock here and there, because Flame Shock actually does quite a bit of damage if it is allowed to have the full duration. I got pretty lucky on this run that I had some crits and clear casting procs that I was able to kill him pretty quickly, and I actually got a Labrum there. I've helped out a couple guildies and friends to get their Satyrs bows because this is a reliable farm. I see people selling Satyrs bow in general chat here in Dire Maul, so that's another way that you could potentially get some gold out of this. Like I said, I did get lucky in that run there with some crits and clear casting procs. I'm not always able to kill Zevrim with a full mana bar, so sometimes I'll have to dance back and forth and let him kind of kite as I sit there regenning my mana with my Mana Stream Totem on the ground. You can kind of keep him there forever, it's no problem. I'm going to go ahead and talk to the tree. The main thing that you always want to be careful of is that you always want to have your Grounding Totem down. And if your Grounding Totem is off cooldown for whatever reason, or rather if it's on cooldown, instead you could drop a Searing Totem. He'll typically sacrifice the totem instead, and then you can LOS behind that pillar that I was hugging the wall for. So going through this hallway here, or this courtyard, it's like playing Frogger. There are 4 packs of these Trents, the Warpwood Stompers and Guardians, that you do have to watch out for. If you notice the path that I took there, it's the same path I take every time, but it doesn't always work out exactly the same, since these paths do have different lengths to their routes. So they may not always be in the same place, but with enough practice you'll get really confident with getting through the courtyard. I ran into a storage issue with my last recording, so here I am on a later jump run, and I'm splicing these 2 little segments together, so these are not the same run, but I'm using the same strategy. So now as I approach the final boss, sometimes this tree will be in our way. That's alright, just sit here and wait for him to pat by. Now with the final boss, he does have very high nature resistance, so you'll see that our highest damage output on this boss is actually going to be our Flame Shock. And rather than using a max rank Lightning Bolt, I'm primarily going to be using a rank 4 Lightning Bolt for this boss, because it's the first rank of Lightning Bolt that uses a 3-second cast time, meaning it has the same spell power coefficient. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up by placing a Searing Totem here, and just like with the last boss, I always keep my Grounding Totem and my Mana Spring Totem down. Sometimes there will be a Dusty Tome on the floor right here, and you can loot that when the boss is back at the center of the room. Don't try to do it while he's over here next to this tree. So, again, I'm only going to use a max rank Lightning Bolt at the start because Elemental Mastery makes it free cast, but other than that, I'm only going to be using my rank 4 Lightning Bolt for this boss. So while he's in his demon form, he's got two different abilities that he'll cast. One of them is a disease, right there, and your grounding totem will intercept that. And it will destroy the grounding totem because it applies damage on cast. So just be mindful and always replace your grounding totem when you need to. And the other ability that he'll use is a poison that is also a mana drain. So it's important that you always want to cleanse those two debuffs if you ever have them. Grounding totem usually can't hit every single ability, so always be ready with a quick dispel on yourself if you need to. That's one of the things that makes Shaman so great at doing these jump runs. We don't kill this boss very quickly, but we're very defensive against him. His wolf form here is probably the most important one to watch out for because it has a slightly higher move speed, and if he touches you, he can put a really nasty dot on you that also slows. And so you want to be careful. If you get that slow on you, just take things very safe because it will impact your ability to jump back and forth between this rock and the ledge. And you'll notice there, while he's in his tree form, his only ability you need to worry about is he has this knockback ability that has a pretty far range on it. I'm getting pretty unlucky here with these casts and the cooldown of my grounding totem, but that's alright. I'll go ahead and use a bandage. So my objective here is getting the boss down to 50% HP, because when he gets to 50%, that's when the cave will open up that gets to the rich thorium veins. And so, realistically, I'm not going to be able to kill this boss. He's just got too much health, and Shamans don't have the best tools to be able to deal with all of the imps that spawn. I'm letting my mana regen a little bit here. So, once I get the boss to about 54 or 53%, that's actually when I'm going to stop and get ready for the next kind of step for this. You always want to play it very safe with the dog. If the other two forms hit you, it's not that big of a deal. He doesn't do that much damage. It's really just the dog's dot that hurts. So now that I've got him to 54%, I am going to go to the far side here and get ready to run. So I'm going to wait out, let him get to me, jump in the air. I hit him with a flame shock mid-air, and then as soon as I land, I pop a swiftness potion. And I'm going to run out of the arena. And when he gets to the edge of the arena there, I also turn around and hit him with a quick frost shock or an earth shock. And if you time things correctly there, it'll bring him to 50% or 49%, anything lower. All that matters is getting him to 50%. That causes the cave to open up over there, which is really what we're after. The boss will not run out of the arena. As soon as he gets to the edge, he will reset, which is what just happened there. And now his imps are out here. So what I'm going to do now is I jumped up on this railing, and I'm waiting for him to start walking toward the tree. Just so that I have good timing on the next step. And now that he's walking toward the tree, what I'm going to do is poke my head over the edge, so that way the imps can see me. The imps have a very large aggro radius. And now they're going to run around the arena and up the ramp toward me, and they're going to pull all the trash along the way. right before the imps touch me. I'm going to jump up, make sure that I'm full health, and I'm going to wait for them to reset. And as soon as combat drops, I'm going to jump down here and get inside the cave. Now, the reason I waited for him to walk toward the tree before doing this was because I knew the timing would be perfect, just like that, that he was not going to be next to the tree when it was time for me to jump down. So then I just get inside the cave, and now I've got these rich thorium veins as the prize. Sometimes there can be a vein that'll spawn right here. You can mine that, but just be very careful that you're not poking any part of your character in the opening of the tunnel, otherwise the imps could see you. And looking at DBM here, because I end up resetting the boss every time, DBM does count that as a wipe, but it also gives me a nice little counter of every time I've done this. I've never actually died doing this boss because I've had so much practice, but I just can see here that I've now done 118 solo jump runs, and I was lucky enough to get an arcane crystal there. And the timer for that run was 17 minutes, 40 seconds, which is on the slower side for sure. I had a really fast kill on Zevrim in my first run, but not quite as fast on that run that I just recorded. So Shaman kill speeds for this, I would say it averages anywhere between 14 minutes and 18 minutes. And that really depends on how lucky you get with the clear casting procs and also with the crits. But that's all there is to it. I've done this a bunch of times now, and with a little practice, I'm sure everybody will be confident in doing it yourself. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and I'll be happy to help out. But thanks.